So here we go. So we are starting today's topic. And today's topic is Route 53. Route 53. So what is a Route 53? Route 53 is a DNS service in AWS, number one, and it's a serverless service. Number one, it's a DNS service. Number two, it's a serverless service. You have not to provision any server in order to configure DNS in AWS. This is serverless service. You will open the serverless service. You will open the dashboard and you will create a hosted zone. That's all, nothing else. But this Route 53 is known for some different purposes. Number one, using Route 53, you can register a domain name, just like in GoDaddy, hostgetter.com or domain.com. AWS Route 53 can also be used as a domain name registrar. So Route 53 lets you register a domain name for your website or web application. Okay. If you want to create a website or application, web application, you start by registering the name of your website, which is known as a domain name. And your domain name is the same, such as example.com, abc.com, xyz.com, that your user enter in the browser to display the web page or website. So by the way, so the thing is clear, what is a domain? So domain is a unique name of your website or your web application that you register from the domain name registrar, and AWS Route 53 provides you registration of domain name. Secondly, it basically allows you to route internet traffic. It routes internet traffic. I'll talk about the route internet traffic. What is the meaning of this? Because we have the different routing policies here. We have a simple routing policy, failover routing policy, geolocation routing policy, weighted routing policy, latency policy, multi-value routing policy. So we have multiple routing policies. So and the purpose of those policies are a separate a specific use case. So we will talk about those use cases, and we will talk about in which those particular use cases we can take these routing policies. Secondly, we have a health check of the resource. Let's say if you are one machine, let's say you are using Route 53 to just display your website. You are using it to display your website, and your machine is healthy. So who will decide the machine is healthy or not? So this health check option, this health check resource health check option will check the health of the EC2 instance, your EC2 instance. If your EC2 instance is healthy, it will allow you to allow your Route 53 to publish the application from that healthy instance. If that instance is unhealthy, it will go to the alternate to or it will use the standby. It will use standby instance to means host or publish your web application or website. Okay. So what are the main purpose of the Route 53? Number one, it is used to register the domain name. Number two, it is used to route the internet traffic. Number three, it checks the health of the resources. And number four, it can be used to create and manage hosted zone within the Route 53. So this service is you can use to host a zone. And one more thing which is really important, this service is not a free of cost service. So when you create a hosted zone on Route 53, it's chargeable. So I will tell you what the charges are there. So I think I did write somewhere the charges. AWS Route 53 charges let's say $0.5 per month per zone, per hosted zone, per zone, right? So this is the charges. This is the charges. So this charge is taken by AWS. How much? $0.5 per month per zone, right? So what exactly you want to do with the Route 53? करना क्या चाहते हो Route 53 से? You already have a server, you already have you were publishing the website. No, let's say this is your web server. Let's say this is your web server, and you created the web server and you hosted the website through the web server. If you want to host the website through the web server, you have used this what do you say, this public IP address. You use this public IP address, right? So means you can definitely host a website without a domain name. But the same website, if you want to open the same website with a domain name, for example .com, abc.com, any domain name, in that case this root 53 will come in picture. So in a root 53 you will write a hosted zone, and in this you will write a resource record which translates name to IP address, So once root 53 is configured, you can open your website through a domain name. If you do not use root 53, you cannot open your website through a domain name. You can only use your website through the IP address. But if you want to open it through the domain name, you will use root 53. Correct? Okay, this is one thing. Secondly, let's say this is very important diagram. I'm just showing you. So right bottom, this is a user. Just try to understand. This is a user, and this user writes a URL in his browser, and the URL is www.abc.com. So he wants to open this website in his browser. He is sitting on internet, and through the internet, so when he enters this URL in the browser, so this request goes to its ISP name server. आपने internet से connection ले रखा होगा ना? You might have taken the connection from the internet, and that ISP will have some name servers. So this your ISP will have some name server. What are the name server? Name servers also are just like a DNS server on the ISP or at the ISP side, where it is resolving the name to IP address and IP address to the name, right? So आपने यहाँ डाला abc.com, and this query was not resolved here. So this query was basically sent to the ISP name server. अब यहाँ पर it is checking that whether in these name server abc.com's IP address is there or not. Let's say it's the very first time you entered this URL from your end, and this URL is went to these name servers very first time. So it's obvious that these name servers has no idea what's the IP address of this abc.com domain name. So what these servers will do, because we don't have any idea, so this information didn't find here. So these name servers will forward this query to, let's say, root server. Here, root server. Just understand. And what is a root server? Root server is a top level server in the internet, which contains only the information about the top level domain servers. It only contains information about कि भाई .com कहाँ पर है, edu कहाँ पर है, .net कहाँ पर है, .gov कहाँ पर है. So it keeps the information about all top level domain like .com, .edu, .net, .org, .in, right? So it keeps the entries of all top level domain names. Because your query was this abc.com. So in this, so it will send according to this query is sent to here, the root server. So it reads the top level domain, and that according to this query, the top level domain was .com, right? So it will go to the .com. It will go to the .com. So this query is sent to the .com, and this .com server contains the entry of ABC. This top level domain server .com contains the entry of the ABC. This is the ABC company. Just try to understand, this is the ABC company. And within the ABC company, you have a DNS server. This DNS server can be AWS managed or it can be your privately managed, right? कोई सा भी हो सकता है, but it's a DNS server, and this DNS server is containing resource record. This DNS server is containing resource record, जिसके अंदर पता लगा हुआ है कि what is the IP address of the domain name, what is the IP address of abc.com, what is the IP address. So this is the server, and this is the IP address. So in this server, it is written what is the IP address of this server. So this information is learned from here. ये information यहाँ से पता लगी है, and this information is shared to the host computer. इस computer को share कर दी जाती है, and the same information is shared to the NS server of the ISP, because इसके पास नहीं थी. So now the name servers has idea about the IP address of this domain name abc.com का क्या IP address है, right? Now so your computer can access now the website directly from the server now, because it shared the IP address. And secondly, if second time later on, if any other time, if the same user or from its ISP, if anybody sends the same abc.com, so this time this query will not go to the root server. ये यहीं से बता देगा what is the IP address of abc.com now, because name servers learned that what is the IP address of abc.com. So this is the entire the procedure how actually DNS works. How actually DNS works. So I did right, and I given the number of the steps as well, right? Number of the steps as well. So please let me know if anybody has any question. Please let me know. Okay. So now let's say, so this is the function of the DNS. Now the DNS is containing the resource records. Just try to understand. Every DNS or hosted zone you create within the root 53 or in the DNS contains some resource records. So we have number of resource records here. A record, quad A record, CNAME, NS, NS stands for name server, SOA, start of authority, MX means mail exchange record. So this way we have number of resource records. So let's say, okay, we just talk about few records here. इनके बारे में बात कर लेते हैं. So very first thing is A record. This one, this is the A record. This is the A record. You just try to understand. This is the A record, right? What is the meaning of the A record? A record means this is a very important record. So in this record, we mention the domain name is equal to IP address. We mention the name to the IP address. We providing the translation, name to IP address, right? Name to IP address. So and second is a quad A. So a quad A is exactly similar to A. The only difference between A and quad A is for IP version 4 and quad A is for IP version 6. But the purpose of A and quad A both are same. Third is CNAME. CNAME is a canonical name. Canonical name means alias name. Alias names means another name. Another name. So if you have a multiple domains and you want to open the same website with another domain, you can choose a canonical name. भाई अगर दूसरा नाम देना चाहते, for example, if you want to give another name to the same website, so you will choose what? Canonical name, CNAME, right? And name server and startup authority. These two records are by default records in AWS root 53. So when you create a hosted zone, name server and startup authority both are created by default. ये दोनों अपने आप ही बन जाते हैं, right? ये दोनों अपने आप ही बन जाते हैं. You have not to do anything. Root 53, sorry, NS and startup authority. So what is NS? Name server. Name server, it is connected with the ISP domain or domain name provider name server. So it is at basically connected at a name server, means ISP end, and it is providing the connectivity to the internet with the internet, and it is containing the caching of name servers as well, right? और the domains as well. ये कैश मतलब इंफॉर्मेशन को स्टोर करके रखता है कि किस डोमेन का क्या आईपी एड्रेस है. इट स्टोर्स इन द नेम सर्वर. Start of authority also is a kind of resource record in which it stores very small information like email ID of the administrator, TTL, DNS version, date, name. So this kind of information is being stored in startup authority. So इनको change करने की जरूरत नहीं है. You will change to name server, nor you will change to startup authority. And the second and the very last one here is MX record. MX stand for mail exchange. Let's say in your domain, if you have mail servers or SMTP servers, तो उनको डिक्लेयर करने के लिए, if you want to declare them as a mail server or a SMTP server, you will use MX or mail exchange record. It is for mail server. It routes your traffic to the mail server in your infrastructure. Correct? Is it clear, everyone? Now, one more thing. Let me talk about this hosted. Hello.
Sir, for that CNAME.
Yeah. What's your question?
So we can use both the name to resolve the IP address, right?
Yes, you can use multiple names to the same IP address.
Okay.
So this is called the CNAME, canonical name.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
Now, as I told you, hosted zone. Hosted zone is what? So hosted zone contains these resource records. Hosted zone is a set of records for a particular domain name, or within the hosted zone, you have all these records. So whatever the records you're creating, you will create under the hosted zone. Number one. Number two, the root 53. So you can manage multiple hosted zone. You can manage multiple hosted zone. And for every hosted zone, you have to pay $0.5 per month for every hosted zone. So I think this information I shared here as well, right? Okay, no issue. And one zone pertaining to one domain name. What is the meaning of the zone? Zone means if you want to create a zone, it's mean you can configure about a particular domain name. So let me just take a practical few things. Is it clear? So let me tell you. Let's say here we go. Very first of all, I don't know means how much I can just complete in one class, because this topic also is a big topic, right? Let me tell you. For example, first of all, you will create one domain. You will create a one machine. You will create a one machine. Let's say this is the machine. This is the machine. Or you can say this is a server you will create. Let's say this is the server. This is the server. Let's say this is your web server. Web server. Let's say this is the web server. And this web server will have one, what do you say, static IP address. So let me say this is your EC2 instance, and you will provide one static IP address to this machine. Or what is the static IP address? EIP. Will you provide the EIP to this machine? Yes, of course, because otherwise the machine's IP address will change if you restart the machine. If you do not want to change the IP address of the machine, in that case, you need to provide EIP, right? But by the way, this is the server you created. So first of all, I want to create a server. So according to this scenario, the first of all, I want to create a server. So just click on EC2, and let's say this is the machine I have. I don't know if this machine is there or not. Let me. Okay. So let me, I'm just deleting all these. I don't know what is there and what is not. I have no idea about this. So I'm just launching an instance first of all. Let's say I'm launching an instance. Let's say this is my web server, right? And add additional tags. You can just name resource type instance volume, right? You can provide the tags to other interfaces like network interfaces as well. Good. Now go back. Now go down, and this is your AMI. Where is the AMI? My AMI. The AMI is owned by me, right? So these are the two AMIs. One is web server image, and another is the Intel web server image. Let's say I'm taking Intel web server image. I'm taking, right? What about if you are taking the first one? Will it work? Yeah, this also is working. So let I'm taking the web server image. And what about instance type? Instance type is t2.micro. And what about this key pair? Key pair is this. I took the key pair. Just go and select default VPC, and let's say US East 1B. Public IP address is enable, and please just enable HTTP traffic, right? This is very important because you need to enable port number 80 from anywhere. So this is important. So the port number 80 is now enabled from anywhere. This is the storage, which is 8 GB for GP2, and I'm okay and say launch instance, and the instance is launched. View all. Let me see. Yes, I can see this is the web server. This is the web server. This is the web server. So this web server is working perfect. So once the web server is running, now what you will do, you will check whether this is running properly or not. So this is the public IP address of the machine. And what I'm doing, I'm just going to open the machine, and it's saying the ELB server. So let me change its actually the web application. So let's say web download a static website template, right? I think this we can just download. Good. I can download this. This is good. So first of all, just take the remote of this machine, connect, go connect, right? And here we go. CD, where www and HTML, and we have, so we need to remove index.html. Is it removed? Right, removed. Now write wget, and this you will copy. What is the link? What is the link? What is the link? This was the link. Okay, here we go. And this is the link. Press enter, and I think this is great. What if I'm choosing the same IP address? What if I'm choosing the same IP address? Is it possible? Is it opening it? Right? Will you try, guys? So this is the IP address I'm just sharing. So http:// will you try this link? Are you able to open this website from your end in the browser? Will you please confirm? Will you please confirm?
Yes, sir. We are able to open, sir.
Yeah, it's when you are able to see the page, right?
Right, sir.
But The page you are opening through the IP address, not through the domain name. So it's okay. You are able to open the website through the IP address. This is already done. But
So like
the IP,
SMS. Yes.
the IP address you have given to this machine, the IP address the given to this machine is a dynamic IP address. It means if the machine is stopped and started again. So in that case, the IP address will change. The IP address will change. So what you will do, you will allocate an EIP to this machine. So we have an elastic IP address. We have an elastic IP address. Go to the elastic IP address. We don't have an elastic IP address as of now. Allocate an elastic IP address and just allocate. So the elastic IP address has been allocated, but it is not associated with any EC2 instance. Select this elastic IP address, go to actions and associate the elastic IP address. And go to the instance, select the instance. In the list of the instances, this is the web server which is running. And you are also providing private IP address of this machine to this. So now this has been associated. So this is the IP address which started from the 34. And if you go to the instance here, and if you refresh it, you can see the IP address of this machine is changed now. The IP address of this machine is changed now. Now this machine has EIP or fixed static IP address, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the EIP. This is the EIP of this instance. Now this is done. So this work you have done in AWS, right? This work you have done in AWS. Just try to understand. So, and you want to open this particular, you want to open this website. You want to open this website using a domain name. Just understand. You want to open it using a domain name. You have a web server with you. So do we have any domain name? Yes, we have a domain name as well. So we have a GoDaddy actually. So I purchased my domain name from GoDaddy. GoDaddy also, GoDaddy.com, GoDaddy.in. So GoDaddy also is a domain provider, domain name provider, right? So, or domain name registrar. So if you open, I'm just giving my GoDaddy idea here. Let's say GoDaddy.com. So this is not free actually. So if you want, you can purchase it. You can purchase any cheap domain, and the cheap domain you can buy in 99 rupee for a year time, right? So let's say in my product, I have a domain name I purchased. This is the domain name. For example, this is the domain name, avatartechnologies.in. Avatartechnologies.in, right? Let's say this I'm using avatartechnologies.in. And this is I purchased from the GoDaddy. So this is the domain name I purchased from GoDaddy. Just understand, right? So I paid money for this domain name. I have this domain. So what you will do? So but your machine, your application or your web application is running on this EC2 instance, and your domain name is on a GoDaddy. So there is a separation between these two different options, because the GoDaddy is a domain name provider and AWS is a cloud platform where my application or website is hosted. Just try to understand. So this is the website where I hosted. This is basically the platform where I host my website, right? And here, so one more thing that you need to remember. Let's say you have a domain name, and the domain name is avatartechnologies.in. If any person from the internet access the same domain, access the same domain name. Let's say this is the user, this user is trying to access the domain from the internet. So if he writes, for example, let's say, okay, if he writes avatartechnologies.in in his browser, so his query will land on GoDaddy. Am I correct or not? His query will land on GoDaddy. Just try to understand. So means he will not land on AWS, because how he can just go to the AWS? There is no link between, as of now, between AWS and GoDaddy, because you did purchase this domain from the GoDaddy. If somebody is trying to access this domain, so his traffic or that traffic will go to the GoDaddy. So you have to make a connection between GoDaddy and AWS. Just try to understand. So what you will do for that, what you will do, you will use a service known as route 53. You will choose this service. Route 53. You got my point? So this here actually this picture, this service comes in picture. So you will use this service. In this service, you will create a hosted zone. What you will create? A hosted zone. Let me tell you, you will create a hosted zone. Within the route 53, you will create a hosted zone, right? You will create a hosted zone, and within the hosted zone, you will create a resource records. What you will write? You will write resource records. I told you what are the resource records. So you will write a resource record, and 2 records are basically by default. I told you there was a record NS, and another record was start of authority. These 2 records are basically default records. Just try to understand. So you have not to create, because when you create in a hosted zone, these 2 records are created automatically, these 2 records. So you will create in a hosted zone. And what is the name of the hosted zone? The name of the hosted zone definitely will remain the same domain name. Correct or not? The same domain name. Hosted zone with the same domain name. Just try to understand. Correct? So you will create this hosted zone with this name, with this particular name. Now once you do this, let me just create it and see what happened. So you go to AWS. First of all, you will go to AWS and just open now route 53. Let's say route 53. You just opening the route 53. In the route 53, what you are creating? What you are going to create? Hosted zone. You are going to create a hosted zone. So this is the route 53 dashboard, right? What you can do? You can create a hosted zone here. You can create a traffic policies. You can also create a health check, and you can also register a domain. So these are the 4 purposes you can do on this route 53. So using route 53, we have an option to use this service in 4 ways. Number 1, this service known for the to manage hosted zone. This service also is known as domain name registrar, and you can provide health check as well as the policy creator, means a traffic policy creator. Okay, so by the way, I'm here. I need to create a hosted zone. Just click on a hosted zone. So as it basically opens the page to write the name of the domain, what is the name of the domain? So this is the name of the domain. Just try to understand. This is the name of the domain. So you will copy the name of the domain very precisely and you will paste under the domain name, right? You will paste under the domain name and here you will write demo, right? And here we have two type of hosted zone, either the private or a public, either private or public. So what kind of a hosted zone you want to create? You want to create a private hosted zone, or you want to create a public hosted zone? You want to create a public hosted zone because you want to access it from the internet, right? You want to access it from the internet. You want to create a public hosted zone. So you will choose a public hosted zone and just create a hosted zone. So as I told you, when you create a hosted zone, you will get two resource records created by default. So this is done. These are the two resource records. One is a name server, another is a startup authority, right or not? Correct or not? So the name server, if you see in front of the name server, the 4 name servers are shared with you. And these 4 name servers pertaining to AWS. Just try to understand. These 4 name servers are pertaining to AWS or related to AWS. So these, you will copy these name servers and you will put it here because these name servers are provided to you. So these 4 name servers are provided to you. This is the one. This is provided to you. Just try to understand. And what you will do, you will copy these 4 name servers from here, right? You will copy these 4 name servers from here and you will paste these name servers in GoDaddy. Just understand, right? Hello, are you getting me? These are the name servers.
Yes, sir.
These are the name servers, and these name servers, you are basically using it. Sorry, and you will paste them. You will paste them in GoDaddy, right? You will paste them in the GoDaddy. So let's say I'm taking the entire page like this, and I'm putting here. Let's say, yeah, okay, this is done. It is pasted here. The same is being pasted here. Very important. So from here till here, you pasted it. Okay. So once these name servers are pasted in GoDaddy, it means you made a relation between GoDaddy and AWS. If any request goes to GoDaddy, if any further request goes to GoDaddy, if somebody accessing this avatar technologies.in, so this traffic will go to the GoDaddy and GoDaddy will divert this traffic to AWS using these name servers. Just try to understand. And ultimately you are going to open this web server. It means you have to write one more entry. You will write one more record, a record. What you will write? A record. Correct. You will write a record. So let me just write a record. So if you are writing a record, I'm choosing a simple routing policy. What I'm choosing here? I'm choosing a very simple routing policy. Why I'm choosing the simple routing policy? Because I have only one server. Why I'm choosing simple routing policy? Because I have only one server. I do not have any standby server. I do not have any alternate server. I do not have any extra server. So this is the only server I have. If this server fails, it means my application will not be available anymore on the internet. So I'm using a simple routing policy. So in a simple routing policy, you will choose a single server, right? So the name servers you created here, NS and startup authority, you go back And here you don't see a record here. Do you see a record here? Hello? Do you see this is the NS record, this start of authority? Do you see any a record here? No. So you will you go there and create a record here. Click on record. So first of all, these are the list of records. These are the list of records like A record, quad A record, CNAME record, MX record, TXT record, PTR record. So these all are records type. So what kind of a record you are creating for your routing policy? I'm creating a simple A record here. And the routing policy is a simple routing policy, right? And here you will choose, here you will fill the public IP address of your web server. You will fill here the public IP address, and you know that what is the public IP address of the web server. Let me tell you, you just go there. Let me tell you, here we go. Where is yes, just a minute. Yes, this is the instance, and this is the instance. So this is the public IP address, right? Did you see that? This is the public IP address of the instance. This is the EIP, of course. And you go back and you will paste this IP address here. Just try to understand. So you pasted the IP address here, right? And this is the domain name. This is the domain name. This is the domain name you purchased from the GoDaddy, and you chose a record here. And in this record name in subdomain, you have not to fill anything because you are not creating any subdomain. You are creating only main domain. Just understand. Okay. So anything. So how many information? How many number of information you did fill here? Number one, you selected the record type. Number two, this is the domain name. You please check. This is the right domain name. Yes. Secondly, we have the TTL name. So TTL second, sorry. So it is in 300 seconds. So if you want to reduce, let's say I'm just making 100 seconds. Or maybe you can just make it 30 seconds for now. And a routing policy. If you open the routing list of the routing policy, we have a simple routing policy, weighted, geolocation, latency, failover, multi-value. I'm choosing the simple routing policy. Why I'm choosing simple routing policy? I told you, because we have only one and only one server, right? So this is done. Now you can just create a record. As you click on a create record, you can see a record has been created. So it means the domain name. It means domain name. This domain name is now equals to this IP address. The domain name equals to IP address. What is the meaning of this? This is the A record, and you are using a simple routing policy. So it means if this domain name you enter in your browser, you should be able to open the website. So let me tell you, http://. So this is the domain name I'm just sharing with you. And this configuration, because IP address is correct, your domain name is correct, and this is correct. Yes, this will not work because the one more setting which we didn't complete. One more setting which we didn't complete yet.
So what is NS record in GoDaddy? Yes,
you just go to the GoDaddy. You GoDaddy and just make some changes in the GoDaddy, because in the GoDaddy we didn't provide in the GoDaddy, because according to this diagram, so these names should be copied in GoDaddy. Am I correct or not? According to this diagram. According to this diagram, these name servers must be copied in the GoDaddy. So what I will do, so let's say this is your name servers, and you will open in let's say, where's the notepad? Yeah, this is the notepad. Finally, one more step is remaining. It was very important. That's why intentionally I didn't do all the configuration in one go, so that at least you should speak to me, right? Okay. Now just go and open the GoDaddy, and just open the particular domain name, and the domain name was avatartechnologies.in. I clicked on avatartechnologies.in, and here we have manage domain. So under this name, we have a domain name, manage domain name. I will just go and click once again, manage DNS, manage DNS. In this, we have number of name servers. So I will select these name servers. I will remove the old name servers, right? I will remove the old name servers. Instead, I will put the new name servers here. So these are the name servers provided by AWS. So the first of all, just remove the last dot from each entry. Just remove the last dot and one by one, paste them here, right? One by one, paste them here, and just add and add, because the total 4 name servers we have. So we will copy and we will paste, right? We will copy and we will paste, right? So this way the 4 name servers are now pasted in GoDaddy. This way we made a connection between GoDaddy and AWS. Now please let me know what result do you see if you hit the same URL again. If you hit the same URL again, I shared the URL, http://avatartechnologies.in. What if you hit the same URL again? Do you see any page? Do you see any website? And definitely this will take little time, because this change can take from few minutes to few hours, right? Not able to see, but according to me, let me see, this is perfect. This is perfect. I think there should not be any. Okay, this is good. Can I just confirm whether it is changed or not? Let me go to the product once again, and let me just find out whether this information is successfully updated or not. Oops, an error has occurred. What is this? You go and refresh it. Okay, this is my Avatar Technologies. Go to manage domain. Why it's so very slow? Okay, now manage DNS, and these are some names. So this is a good thing. I can see these name servers are successfully updated. So it's mean this configuration is perfectly okay. So the configuration of GoDaddy is perfectly okay, and this also is perfectly okay. So according to me, I think this should work. Whether this is working or not, this is working. And what about avatartechnologies.in? Let me see. Here we go. Avatar Technologies. Okay, so we are waiting here for a few minutes, maybe, because according to me, configuration is 100% okay.
Sir, when I do NS lookup,
are you able to open it?
No, I'm getting error. DNS.google not able to find that server.
No, I'm able to open it. I can open it in another browser. Can you open it in another browser? You can just check it. I'm able to open it. This website is opening now using the same domain name, avatartechnology.in. This is working.
Yeah, now it's resolving, sir.
It's working now. So this website is working. So this is the one thing. This is good. This website is working. And so this was a simple routing policy. So I have a few more routing policies. So this way you can just go and just open. So you did see that how we just configured AWS with GoDaddy. The similar way, if any other domain provider you have, the same way you will configure. Okay, some outlook of the screen may be different, but the procedure will remain same. The procedure will remain same. Okay, so I need to just talk about the other policies as well. We have the number of policies. So we'll talk about, let's say, AWS Route 53 routing policy. So we'll talk about these routing policies in our next class, right? So these are the routing policies. This red color routing policy is not there. So this has been deprecated. So it has been removed. But these yellow color 6 routing policies we have in AWS, right? So what I'm doing, let me snipping. I'm just adding the routing policy. These are the routing policy. So we'll talk about all these routing. So simple routing policies we already done. The simple routing policies we already done. For a single resource, if you have a single machine, the simple routing policy can be used. So in our next class, we'll talk about the failover routing policy, geolocation routing policy, and we'll talk about the weighted routing policy as well, right? So, and one more thing, I can give you a little work. So is it possible to host a website through the S3 bucket instead of using EC2 instance, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you everyone.